pair of brothers had recently settled into a new home when something terrifying interrupted one of them while he was fixing up his bed. A ghostly pale arm shot out from the cupboard behind him and dragged him inside. He screamed and managed to break free, hurling himself over the bed to escape. When his brother rushed over, he caught a glimpse of that same arm pulling the cupboard door shut. What made it so disturbing was that when they checked inside, the cupboard was completely empty. The whole house echoed with blood-curdling screams, and the two of them were absolutely paralyzed with terror. That was all it took. They packed up and never looked back. On January 18th, 2026, a TikTok creator going by the name Wanderlust Kaz uploaded a clip featuring an odd moment her outdoor security camera caught late at night. For the opening seconds, everything looks perfectly ordinary. Just a still, uneventful shot of her backyard with nothing out of place. Then, almost instantly, something deeply strange enters the frame. Did you spot it? Right there. What appears to be a humanoid shadow abruptly sweeps across the side of her house. What makes it so unsettling is that there's no obvious person around who could be responsible for casting it. The shadow drifts across the surface for just a moment before vanishing as suddenly as it showed up. For many viewers, it looks exactly like a shadow figure cutting through the yard, something the camera itself couldn't detect, yet somehow leaving its mark on the wall. There's also a more technical explanation worth considering. Security cameras can have a hard time with motion processing and compression algorithms, particularly in low light conditions. Under the right circumstances, a person walking through the frame can get effectively swallowed by the background by the camera's own software, while the shadow they're throwing onto a nearby wall stays perfectly intact, producing the eerie illusion of a disembodied shadow with nobody attached to it. Regardless of which explanation you lean toward, watching a human-shaped shadow glide silently across a wall with no source in sight is the kind of thing that'll have you hitting replay more than once. Moving along to our next case. In the early hours of April 26th, 2022, at the stroke of midnight, everything in one woman's bedroom seemed perfectly still until a soft, unsettling sound shattered that calm. A hanging swing chair near the window had begun swaying on its own, its quiet creaking enough to pull her straight out of sleep. She assumed it was just a draft, so she climbed out of bed, grabbed the chair to stop it, and settled back down, hoping that would be the end of it. But within minutes, the chair started moving again, as though an invisible hand had given it a push, and that was just the start of what was coming. Without any warning, a deafening bang rang out from the wardrobe in the corner, as if something had been hurled from up high and slammed down hard onto the floor. Before she even had a chance to process what was happening, the wardrobe doors began to slowly swing open by themselves. And then came the truly terrifying part. The mirror on the wardrobe's door reflected something that should not have been there. A dark, shadowy form appeared to be suspended in the air, twisting and contorting. Whatever it was seemed determined to stay hidden, but the camera captured every second of it. She could sense it now, with absolute certainty. Something dark and malevolent had made its way into her room, and it had no intention of leaving her alone. The footage starts unsteadily, the man's voice cracking with anxiety as he inches toward his living room, his breaths coming fast and shallow. The camera sweeps along a poorly lit corridor before arriving at the doorway, where the floor is blanketed in torn paper, flung in every direction as if something had ripped through the space in a rage. The tension in the air is almost palpable, heavy and thick, as the soft sound of his nervous footsteps carries through the recording. Easing himself into the room, he swings the camera anxiously around the space. A dark, unlit Christmas tree sits in the corner, its dim decorations throwing a faint and eerie glow across the chaos below. As he keeps filming, small floating orbs drift through the frame, subtle, yet impossible to dismiss, catching the light briefly as they glide past. The mood grows more and more disturbing. Then, just as things seem to settle, a soft female whisper cuts through the quiet, appearing to come from somewhere directly behind him. He whips around in a panic, the camera lurching wildly as he scans the room for whoever spoke, but the space is completely empty, nothing but silence and the sound of his own ragged breathing. Shaken to his core, he hastily retreats and exits the room, still capturing everything on film as he stumbles back into the hallway. He later posts the footage online, asking his viewers whether they could shed any light on the mysterious whisper, the shredded paper covering the floor, or the supernatural presence that appeared to be tormenting his wife. Man started picking up on deeply unsettling things occurring at his workplace. In the beginning, it was nothing more than mysterious knocking that he couldn't explain, but then objects began shifting on their own, accompanied by small, baffling incidents that defied any logical explanation. Gradually, he came to suspect that the location might be dealing with some kind of poltergeist. Determined to know whether anything was going on when nobody else was present, he set up a camera and left it running in the room.
Partout, à la maison, comme au boulot, comme n'importe où en fait. Du coup, j'ai décidé de le laisser poser sur une table du boulot volontairement et je suis parti. Et regardez ce qui se passe. On ne voit pas l'image parce que j'ai accéléré la séquence, mais ce qui me glace le sang, c'est que le téléphone s'attarde jamais sur les photos du travail ou d'animaux. C'est toujours les mêmes. Les photos de famille, des amis, et surtout les enfants. Jusqu'à présent, ça concernait que moi, alors je m'inquiétais pas, mais là, ça prend une ampleur trop importante. C'est décidé, je vais agir. Merci aussi pour vos nombreux messages. Beaucoup me conseillent de mettre de la sauge ou de tenter de communiquer avec ce qui se passe. Je vais tenter de faire ça ce week-end.
At a certain point in the recording, something truly bizarre happens, involving a phone that had been sitting on the table. Its screen starts scrolling by itself, almost as though invisible fingers were swiping through the photos. Yet not a single person is visible anywhere in the frame. And that was far from the only troubling moment. One morning, he showed up well before any of his co-workers. The entire building stood empty. That's when things took a frightening turn. The instant he steps inside, knocking sounds begin reverberating throughout the space. The source of the noise seems to be somewhere nobody should be, and then, without warning, a door slams shut directly in front of him. The reaction is instant, but the weirdness didn't end there. On a separate occasion, he spotted the cord of an extension cable shifting on its own with no apparent cause. Baffled by what he was witnessing, he pulled out his phone and started recording.
La voix off pour la prochaine vidéo. Regardez là la prise. Je suis sûr qu'elle était en train de bouger juste avant.
Even after documenting all of these moments, the strange activity has continued without letting up. This has only deepened the man's conviction that something may genuinely be inhabiting that space, possibly something with a specific connection to him. He claims that even the security cameras out in the parking lot have picked up movement in spots where nobody was visible. The cameras register him when he passes by, as they should, but at certain moments, other presences seem to appear in the footage as well. And that leaves us with a deeply unsettling question. Is any of this just coincidence? Or is something out there, something not of our world, keeping a close eye on this man? Bodycam footage captured by law enforcement features actress Irene Bedard, best known as the voice behind Pocahontas, during a troubling encounter, and sharp-eyed viewers spotted something that doesn't quite add up.
Does this work?
I don't know what that is.
It's your cell phone.
I don't know what that is.
There's an obscure shape moving close to her. It flickers into view along the floor for just a moment before appearing to drift out of the shot. Certain people believe this detail holds the key to her disoriented behavior, suggesting some kind of dark presence may have latched onto her. Others are convinced it's simply a shadow produced by her own movements. So what's your take? The next clip involves a genuine tragedy that unfolded deep in a forest somewhere in the United States. A young girl had ventured into the woods near her house alongside a friend, the two of them looking for red wildflowers. The further they went in, the more unsettling things became, until something shocking stopped them in their tracks. See for yourself what their camera captured.
What if ice cream just scared blood demons? They would mimic your scream. That never scared me anyway. Maybe it's just a bunch of kids trying to summon demons. Back from the forest we're in? Yeah. Sounds like fun. The more I listen, the less scary it sounds. The more I listen, the more scary it sounds. Oh, you got it. Yeah. I think I know what it is. I think it's a hyena.
Without warning, the girl started picking up eerie screaming echoing through the trees. It sounded unmistakably like a woman crying out in desperation. Completely terrified, both girls turned and bolted out of the forest. A few hours passed before one of them finally opened up to her mother about what they'd experienced, pulling out the footage to show her. Fortunately, the mother didn't hesitate. She picked up the phone and dialed the police right away. When officers swept through the forest, they discovered a woman in distress, screaming because her husband had collapsed and lost consciousness. Despite their best efforts, the responders couldn't save him. They had simply gotten there too late. His wife had been out there for hours, crying out for anyone to hear her, and nobody came.
Sounds like fun. Yeah. So, are you someone? No.
That's the sobering reality this story leaves us with. Not every unsettling noise in the woods signals danger to you. Sometimes it's a person on the other side of that sound who is running out of time. Had those girls alerted the authorities sooner, that man might still be alive today. Rodan isn't someone who posts often, and when he does, it tends to be laid back, slice of life content. But things took a dark turn recently when his parents left town, and he began going through experiences that shook him to his core. Items were shifting on their own, unsettling sounds echoed through the house, and there was this persistent, suffocating sense that he wasn't the only one there. Late one night, somewhere around 1 a.m, strange noises from another part of the house jolted him awake. He grabbed his phone and started filming.
Estoy en mi pieza queriendo dormir, boludo, y me tocan la puerta toda la noche, amigo. Son como las 1 de la mañana. No hay nada. No, amigo, ¿qué mierda es eso, boludo? ¿Qué mierda sos, la concha de tu madre? Boludo, no. Amigo, no hay nadie, boludo. No. De hoy que se está escuchando esa mierda. ¿Qué? No, boludo, no. Encima voy a buscar la ventana, boludo. Ay, amigo. O sea, no hay chance que haya salido alguien por acá, boludo. No, amigo, no. No, amigo, de nuevo esto. Pero qué...
A figure materializes in the background, slowly peering around the edge of the doorframe before disappearing from view. Rodan charges into the room, but finds absolutely nothing. He heads toward the window to check whether someone might be lurking outside. But as he peers through the glass, the reflection reveals a second shadowy figure standing directly behind him in the room. After he uploaded the footage, viewers were quick to flag both apparitions, cautioning him that whatever has taken up residence in his home isn't simply making noise, it's keeping a close eye on him. A lot of people think that the extended time alone, while his parents have been away, has left him susceptible to paranormal forces, while others believe these entities were always present and are only now choosing to make themselves known. A strange video began circulating online after a woman came forward claiming that a doll she kept in her house was possessed. According to her, the doll would frequently move by itself, though plenty of viewers refused to believe her. Determined to prove she had nothing to hide, she mounted a camera inside a small storage closet and began live streaming the doll around the clock. The doll itself seemed completely motionless at first, but without warning, the objects around it were sent flying violently across the space. Boxes, containers, and various loose items launched through the air, tumbling down all around and directly onto the doll. Nothing could account for what happened. No breeze, no visible force, nobody else in the room. some people who watched the footage became convinced the doll was under some kind of curse. A handful of viewers even insisted they could spot the doll making a slight movement just seconds before everything went haywire. Since no original source for the clip has ever been confirmed, what really happened that day is still anyone's guess. Kids having imaginary friends is pretty common, and most of the time, it's completely harmless. But for a mother named Renee Brown, her little girl Maya's behavior has started to cross into genuinely unsettling territory. Maya has been acting as though she can see something that no one else can. During one quiet evening at home, Maya suddenly cowered as if something invisible had terrified her. Alarmed, Renee pulled out her phone and hit record.
But she is like, she's acting super weird. She keeps peering over the couch.
You can see Maya crouched behind the sofa, breathing hard, visibly shaking with fear. And yet, aside from the two of them, the house is completely empty. As Renee sweeps the camera across the room, there's nothing there, nothing visible anyway. So just what is it that Maya is reacting to? Maya turns to her mother for comfort, pressing her face against her as if desperately trying to shield herself from whatever has spooked her. Renee is completely at a loss for how to make sense of her daughter's behavior. Since Maya is still too young to talk, Renee keeps the camera rolling, hoping something will give her an explanation, and it doesn't take long at all.
What are you looking at? Oh my god. Oh.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Okay, no. No one's there, honey. Should I be scared right now? Hey.
We go. Bye.
Maya, what are you waving at?
We will be like we tap to work a week. We go what? The boy have not really done. We'll be so. It'll be coming.
Maya extends her little hand outward, as though she's making contact with something unseen. Then she gives a gentle wave, as if saying goodbye to someone only she can perceive. When Renee shared the footage online, followers began asking whether anyone close to the family had recently passed. Renee's response stopped people in their tracks. She revealed that her own father had died when she was the exact same age Maya is now, prompting many viewers to believe that Maya might be in the presence of her late grandfather's spirit.
Bye. Bye.
Phenomenon Paranormal is a TikTok account dedicated to all things that go bump in the night. But the woman running it may be dealing with something far more personal than just content creation. Long before she started sharing her experiences online, she was already noticing something inside her home that seemed determined to make its presence known. While she was dozing off in her living room, her camera picked up a bone-chilling, disembodied voice, one that appears to be saying, "I'm coming for you, princess." Honestly, a message like that would have had me out the front door before my eyes were even fully open. For her though, this kind of thing is practically routine. Unsettling voices drifting in from somewhere beyond seem to find her on a regular basis. Then, just seconds after her dog started barking, a low and raspy voice growls back, "Don't you bark at me." Direct, threatening, absolutely terrifying. And look, I'm sorry, but the moment whatever is haunting your house starts having words with your pet, it's time to break out the super soaker loaded up with holy water. The following clip was recorded on November 14th, 2025. A woman by the name of Sydney had checked into an Airbnb with her dog for a weekend wedding, and things seemed completely fine at first, until her dog started acting strangely. The animal kept stopping at the exact same spot on the staircase, staring downward, and this kept happening at different points throughout the day, every single day.
You guys some footage of my dog with these stairs. Again, she's been doing this ever since we got here, every single day. It's usually at different times, so it'll be pretty sporadic on when she does this. But the first time my sister actually, when she was out running an errand with my niece, she came home and she was like, oh my God, what is she doing right now? And I ran over from the kitchen and literally this is her. Like, she's just standing here, kind of sniffing around, just very, very focused and very, like, something is definitely making her, like, very interested. Like, she just seems so like locked in on these stairs. It was super weird. But then I started noticing it too, like at random times of the day and night. So here's another clip that I got of her doing it. This is when I had seen her like walk over to the stairs, and then I was in the living room watching TV, and there she is again, just back at it, just sniffing around, kind of standing there. And then this clip right here, this one really freaked me out. So I kind of knew that it was happening because it had gotten really quiet. She left my side. I was in my room in bed, about to go to sleep, and I just, lo and behold, see her, like, walk over and see her. And she was so locked into the stairs this time around. It was so spooky.
Once viewers noticed the dog's behavior, they encouraged Sydney to pull back the rug on that section of the stairs to see if something was hidden underneath. But lifting it revealed nothing out of the ordinary. Eventually, though, she begins to piece together what might actually be triggering her dog's obsession with that particular spot.
I think I figured out why my dog just is always hanging out right here. So I just found a door back here. So I don't think that it's what's on the stairs. I think it's something that's underneath. So I tried to check, but the door is locked. Obviously it's an Airbnb, so they lock a lot of the doors up, but so yeah, I don't think that it's what's on the stairs like what I initially thought. I think it's what's below. I'm gonna find out at this.
At the rear base of the staircase, she finds a door leading down to a basement, and she becomes convinced that this is what her dog has been sensing the whole time. Whenever the dog freezes up on the stairs, it's right above that basement entrance, but the door is locked tight and she can't get it open. She then notices the gap along the bottom of the door is wide enough to slide her phone through, so she does exactly that to record what's inside. And here's what happened next.
This is the switch. You guys can see the light is on right there.
Just, can you imagine there's something right behind the door? Oh my God.
As the phone goes under the door, the footage clearly shows no one standing on the other side. But the second she pulls it back out, something grabs the doorknob and twists it from within. Completely shaken, Sydney bolts around the corner. Later that same night, she starts hearing sounds and manages to capture something absolutely chilling on camera.
My niece, we were renting out this Airbnb for a wedding this weekend, and we were just out walking my dog. And when we came in, we heard
The sound of footsteps can be heard descending the staircase, and when she spins around to look, her dog's leash suddenly launches upward into the air with no apparent cause. After watching the footage back, she immediately reached out to the property owner, asking whether anyone else had access to the space. Though given what the dog had already been reacting to, it seemed unlikely this was simply another tenant.
I sent the video to the landlord of the Airbnb, and hold on, let me turn on the light. Okay. I sent the video to the landlord of the Airbnb asking, like, hey, is there someone else renting it out as well as us or what? Because there's a room under the stairs that we can't get into. It's locked. So I didn't know. And basically he was like, no, you guys are the only ones that are in the Airbnb right now, like booked out for the week. So, okay. Kind of feel relieved, in a way, because I think it would be really weird and kind of creepy if there were people staying there as well that we didn't know about. But yeah, he didn't seem worried at all about it, so.
But the disturbing events don't end there. The very next evening, things escalate even further. Pay close attention to what unfolds.
Scary. Okay. Okay, every time we've knocked before, this doorknob would turn a little bit.
As she extends her phone just far enough to slip it beneath the door, something on the other side grabs it and yanks it back with enough force that it slowly tumbles all the way down the basement stairs, coming to rest at the bottom. What makes it even stranger is that the phone actually paused after being pulled. It sat completely still for a few seconds before suddenly dropping down the steps, almost as though something tugged it a second time. Then, after landing flat at the bottom, the phone begins rotating by itself, and in a moment that looks ripped straight from a horror film, it spins upright and points itself directly toward the basement door, completely on its own, before falling flat once more. Immediately after this, Sydney contacts the host, who eventually comes over to unlock the door and retrieve the phone. She then uses her sister's device to document what she found.
But I'm waiting to start hearing things from coming underneath my house. That's it. I'm out of here. The door. Okay. Well. Door too. It's creepy. Yeah.
Somehow, the phone had been dragged back through the gap and ended up all the way at the foot of the stairs. The landlord's reaction after being shown the video was notably unbothered, which raises the question of whether he already knows something he isn't sharing. Either way, whatever is happening inside this Airbnb has yet to be explained. Like so many of these clips, this one remains an open mystery, dragged under, Juan Ferral was settling into a relaxed evening at home, drifting in and out of sleep on the couch, while the TV murmured quietly in the background. When his eyelids finally got too heavy to fight, he reached over and switched the television off, ready to call it a night. But the instant the screen went black, a sudden, violent pounding erupted from his front door. See for yourself what unfolded next. The banging was ferocious, like someone on the other side was absolutely desperate to get in. Juan's body locked up, his heart hammering in his chest. After several agonizing seconds, he willed himself to his feet and crept slowly toward the door. Summoning every bit of nerve he had, he pulled it wide open. The hallway beyond was completely deserted. No retreating footsteps, no fleeting shadows, not a single soul in sight. Juan has since reached out to paranormal investigators in the hope of getting some answers about whatever may be lurking in his home. Japanese paranormal investigator Takeuchi from the YouTube channel Takeuchi Camera ventures into a long abandoned home that was once swallowed by floodwaters and left partially submerged. The fate of whoever lived there remains a complete mystery to him. Once inside, he discovers there's no staircase leading up to the attic, so he props up a ladder to get a look at what's above. What his camera picks up is absolutely chilling. The footage reveals two ghostly pale, childlike feet resting on the attic floor. Yet when he pulls himself up to look, there's nothing there. And when he swings the camera back around, the feet have completely vanished. Then, just moments after that, his camera light cuts out without warning.
Moments later, his camera light suddenly shuts off.
この屋根裏部屋にね、なんて言うんですか。あ、え？あ？ちょっと待って。あ、ちょっと待って。ライト消えた。え？これ始まってる？難しい。 なんで？ライト。あ、ついた。何やったん今の。どういうこと？また消えた。は？マジ？ちょ、待って。ちょっと待って。ちょっとオンにもう一回試してみようか。マジ？ちょっともう一回オンにして。全然あかんわ。
With the light stuttering in and out, Takeuchi decides he's had enough and calls off the investigation. But in one brief flash, as the light returns, those same pale legs reappear, shooting out of frame before he can process what he's seeing. He doesn't even realize what he caught until he sits down to review the footage back at home. So, did he manage to capture the spirit of someone who once lived there? Could the original residents have perished in the flood? We'd love to know what you think. The Parade Prince, the creator behind the popular Magical Poltergeist TikTok account, has been carefully documenting the bizarre and unsettling events unfolding inside his family's home. He, his wife, and their children have been under relentless assault from some invisible presence for several years now. Every effort they've made to drive it out has failed, so they set up cameras throughout the house, hoping to capture whatever keeps defying explanation.
No.
At one point, Rory's wife was burning sage in an effort to purify the space when the refrigerator door directly behind her suddenly flung open on its own, as though yanked by invisible hands. Shaken, she fled the room, but the door kept swinging open and shut long after she was gone. A lot of people insisted the only real solution was for the family to pack up and walk away from that house entirely. So that's exactly what they did. But shortly after settling into their new home, one of their cameras recorded something that stopped everyone cold. Just as it had in the old house, the refrigerator door began opening and closing by itself. But this time, every single burner on the stove flared to life without anyone touching them. Whatever this force is, it isn't just creepy anymore, it's a genuine threat. And then, the footage revealed its most disturbing detail yet. Scattered throughout the recording, multiple dark silhouettes can be seen gliding through the room, casting shadows across objects as they move past. When Rory finally sat down to review the video, he was completely shaken, forced to confront just how serious the situation had truly become. The following clip was posted to Reddit by the user you can see on screen right now. It's security camera footage recorded inside a school building. In the post, the person who uploaded it explained that employees routinely greet this particular hallway as they walk past, convinced that the ghost of a child has made that spot its home. Strange incidents have apparently been reported there for years, and now it seems the surveillance system may have finally recorded proof. Pay close attention to what unfolds.
Я к нему как-то уже лояльно.
Ну так спокойно.
И что, на одном месте?
Мы все здороваемся с ним теперь.
Да, я ему говорю привет.
Видишь ребенок?
Видишь, как ребенок.
Когда выходит на черное, его сильно вообще видно. Снимает. Иди сюда, мы же его...
Не верят.
Мы забыли вывести, это можно
вот,
уже на большой экран вывести.
Смотри на большом экране.
Смотри.
Вот ходит, сейчас спустится, вон он идет, видишь?
Видишь? Вот здесь вообще как ребенок, смотри, да?
Капец, вообще, ты видишь?
Ну, конечно, вот и в телефоне вот
да.
он тоже.
И в актовом зале их там 3 штуки играют.
О, ничего себе.
Но они летают.
Они летают, как бы играют.
Они там не ходят, они летают.
А вон сейчас уже на стенке.
А я подошла туда
к лестнице.
К лестнице.
There on the staircase, a semi-transparent shape appears, moving in a manner that rules out both shadows and reflections as easy explanations. A large number of people who watch this footage are convinced it's the real deal, genuine evidence of something supernatural that has been dwelling in that school for quite some time. So where do you stand on this? Did the camera actually pick up a ghost on film? Or is there a rational answer that nobody's spotted yet? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. One morning, Cal was jolted awake by the sound of voices drifting from somewhere within his home. Not loud enough to be alarming, not clear enough to identify, but just present enough to keep him from falling back asleep. See if you can catch it yourself. His first instinct was the same as anyone else's. He went through the house methodically, checking every room for a rational explanation. No TV left running, no audio playing from a phone, no neighbors close enough to account for it. Nothing that added up. Then he approached the basement door and everything changed. People who went back and analyzed the footage say they can distinctly make out a young girl's voice, barely above a whisper, saying, "He's coming." Cal has no children, and there were no kids anywhere near that property that morning. A number of viewers strongly advised him against speaking back in the moment, warning that responding out loud to unexplained voices is believed by some to escalate paranormal activity. To this day, Cal has no answer for what he heard, just a disembodied voice that had no business being there, in a house that had been completely quiet for weeks, and then, without warning, came alive. A content creator who goes by Ivko built his channel around something refreshingly simple, striking up conversations with random people across the globe. No agenda, just genuine exchanges and the stories that come with them. But during one particular call, that familiar format took a deeply unsettling detour. The exchange started out like any other, a relaxed back and forth with a young man, nothing out of place, nothing to suggest anything was lurking beneath the surface. Then, without warning, the whole mood shifted into something far more frightening.
Hey.
¡Hey! ¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estamos?
Todo muy bien. ¿Y usted qué tal?
Todo bien, aquí andamos.
¿Qué hace por aquí? Charlando.
Pues nada, un ratito de distracción.
Está muy bien.
A ver qué hay.
Está muy bien. Es más, yo frecuento mucho por aquí luego de mi trabajo. Ya tengo, imagínese, mire, tengo todo apagado ya. Me gusta igualmente charlar con la gente. ¿De dónde es?
De México. A otra casita, digo, pues ya sabes, a veces con la renta y todo, pues no se puede, pero me cambié aquí, nos cambiamos ya, andamos aquí renovando.
Está muy bien, está muy bien, pues es complicado pagar debe ser complicado pagar el alquiler, calculo, ¿no?
Sí, en el mero centro de México está canijo ahí.
Me imagino que sí, y ellos ahora en este preciso momento presencian en tu casa, por lo que veo.
No, ellos salieron, ahorita mi papá está trabajando, y mi mamá está con una de sus sobrinas. Ahorita estoy solo, por eso dije, me voy a distraer un ratito aquí solo.
¿Y usted por casualidad tiene algún problema eléctrico o algo por el estilo?
No.
¿Cómo que no? Sí.
No, bueno, que yo sepa, no. No todo. No.
Pero no acaba de fijarse que no sé qué hay detrás de la puerta, pero detrás de la puerta se acaba de prender una luz. Y eso no es normal.
No, pero... estoy solo, pero...
La puerta se abrió, se entreabrió. Y no solamente que se entreabrió, sino que, bueno, tampoco para tanto. Me dijo que estaba solo.
No es chistoso, ¿eh?
Realmente
no es chistoso. Puede ser un ladrón.
Yo entiendo, obvio que puede ser un ladrón,
Mid-conversation, Emievko caught something in the frame. The door behind the guy had moved. It was subtle, easy to dismiss, but something about it gnawed at him. He brought it up and asked whether the guy was actually alone in the place. The guy answered without hesitation, completely unbothered, insisting there was nobody else there. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. Unsettled and unable to let it go, the young man got up to investigate, and that decision changed everything. There, in the background, a shadowy figure slowly pulls itself out of the darkness, moving with a quiet, deliberate stillness that's impossible to look away from. Then the footage ends abruptly. No context, no closure. What lingers most is something the guy had casually mentioned just moments before. He and his family had only recently moved into that house. Ever since, people have been left wondering whether they unknowingly made their home somewhere that was already occupied. A young man working at a construction site captured this footage one evening while unwinding in the workers' sleeping quarters, scrolling through his phone. Everything around him seemed completely still, not a sound or movement anywhere. Then, without any warning, something bizarre emerged from the wall just beside him.
Astagfirullahaladzim. Astaga, masih peruki ni dang apa ngaco. Astagfirullahaladzim. 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 Wih, ini ada orang anjing. Astagfirullah.
Look closely and you'll notice what comes through. That wall appears to be a head covered in white fabric. For a brief moment, it takes on the unmistakable shape of a shrouded figure, its face strikingly dark against the pale wrapping. The apparition lingers for only a second before vanishing the instant the young man switches on the dormitory light. The experience sends him into an immediate panic, since he was absolutely sure nobody else had been anywhere near that room. Afterward, he stated that whatever showed itself to him that night was almost certainly not of this world. In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a terrifying example of a child interacting with something that an adult is completely blind to. A mother is just casually filming her little boy, Jensen, while he lines up his toy cars on the living room floor. It's a completely innocent, quiet moment, right up until a sudden noise echoes from the other side of the room. What makes this video so chilling isn't the sound itself, but Jensen's immediate, visceral reaction to it. According to his mum, he is not typically a cuddly or clingy kid, but the absolute second this happens, his survival instincts completely take over. Watch what happens when his mum starts asking him very specific questions about exactly what he is looking at.
What? It's okay. Do you see someone?
Yes.
Who do you see?
Dad.
Who is it?
Daddy.
You see someone over there? What are they doing? That's what they're doing?
Yes.
Are they scary? Are they nice? Like, do you want to go play with them? They're not there no more?
Yes.
They are? What are they doing? Is there still someone over there by your toys?
Yes.
Is it a man? Or is it a lady?
Daddy.
A lady? It's a woman? Do you know her name?
Dad.
What's her name?
That's true.
Oh, she's in the kitchen now? Oh.
It's high.
She's up high?
Yes. Dad. Oh. Dad. Oh.
What?
Daddy.
What is it?
Dad.
You tell me, I don't see anything.
Oh, Dad.
You keep pointing by your toys. Is there someone by your toys?
Oh, shit.
You keep pointing to the chair.
Oh.
Is there someone in the chair?
Yes.
Can you point to where you see someone? Where are they?
Dad.
They're right there. What are they doing?
Dad. I see. Dad.
The chair?
Dad.
Over by your toys?
Yes.
Well, are they gone now? Did they go bye-bye?
Dad.
Right there?
Yes, I see.
They're by the chair?
Yes.
Can you wave to them if you see them?
Dad. Dad, Golly. Mommy.
Yeah?
Dad. I see.
You see them?
I see.
Is it boy or girl?
Good.
A girl?
Dad, go.
You see the girl?
Oh. Dad.
Can you ask her name?
A girl.
A girl. You see a girl? Does she make you happy or scared? Scared?
I see her dad.
Yeah, you keep pointing to the chair.
A girl.
A girl. Is she old? Like, is she maybe mommy's grandma? A girl. A girl sitting over there. You see that? You see a girl? Oh. Did she wave to you? Is she nice? Oh, she is nice. Where is she? I know you're waving to the chair, but where is she behind? Like, can you look at her? Is she there? I don't see her, do you? Oh. Did she leave?
Nope.
No, she's still there?
Yes.
Where? I put you down and you go show me where she is. Go show me. Go by her. Can you go give her a high five?
Nope.
Why?
High five.
You don't want to?
There is nothing more unsettling than a toddler casually describing a nightmare standing right in front of them. When she asks what the presence is doing, the terrifying face and sound he mimics to demonstrate is pure nightmare fuel. But the absolute scariest part of this footage is how he physically tracks the entity's movements in real time. He doesn't just stare at one dark corner. He points to the end of the living room, then tracks it moving into the kitchen, and finally points straight up to the ceiling. In paranormal research, an entity that defies gravity to crawl or hover on a ceiling is almost never classified as a standard human spirit. That kind of unnatural, spider-like movement is a classic hallmark of something much darker, often associated with demonic entities or crawlers. The fact that this entity is intentionally keeping itself hidden from the adults while actively showing itself to the toddler is a textbook isolation tactic. It knows the child's sensory filters are still wide open, and it is deliberately using that connection to feed off his pure, unfiltered panic. After little Jensen's terrifying encounter with whatever was crawling on the ceiling, the family understandably set up a security camera to see what was actually happening in their living room. And a few days later, the camera caught another incident. The older brother, Tucker, is just getting ready to head out with his mum, but as he's standing there, the environment is clearly highly active. Keep your focus on the little toy duck sitting completely by itself in the middle of the floor, and keep an eye out for the strange, illuminated anomalies floating through the air. Watch Tucker's body language closely too. It looks like he might actually catch a glimpse of the movement out of the corner of his eye before they walk out the door. When you combine floating orbs with actual physical object manipulation, it completely changes the conversation. Skeptics love to quickly debunk orbs as just dust particles or bugs catching the infrared light of a security camera. But in paranormal research, when an orb is captured in the exact same frame as a heavy physical interaction, like a toy being dragged across the floor, investigators classify those spheres as concentrated balls of raw spiritual energy actively trying to manifest. The creepiest part of this footage is the timeline of the movement. The entity moves the duck slightly while Tucker is standing right there, almost like it's testing the waters to see if he notices. But the absolute second the front door closes and the house is completely empty, the toy is forcefully dragged even further to the right. It proves that whatever has attached itself to this family isn't just putting on a spooky show for an audience. It is physically occupying their space, and it has absolutely no problem playing with the kids' toys the moment they leave the room. In this next clip, we look at the absolute worst case scenario for anyone who lives by themselves. The guy filming this is just returning home after stepping out for the night. As he walks up to his house, he casually glances up at his second-story window, but instead of the dark, empty room he was expecting, he sees something that stops him completely in his tracks. Someone, or something, is already inside, looking right back down at him. Keep in mind, his caption explicitly states that he lives completely alone.
No mamen. Acabo de llegar del trabajo y vean lo que estoy viendo en la ventana. No mamen.
Seeing a pale, almost translucent face staring out from a pitch-black room is pure nightmare fuel. In the paranormal community, entities that present themselves exactly like this are often referred to as watchers. Unlike poltergeists that aggressively throw things around to cause chaos and fear, watchers are incredibly still, quiet, and deeply territorial. They usually claim a specific room or floor of a house and simply observe the living. However, the fact that it is intentionally hovering right at the glass while he is standing outside shows a terrifying level of awareness. It isn't just mindlessly haunting a corner of the room, it is actively looking out the window, watching him return. It is a bold, territorial display, basically daring him to come inside, unlock his front door, and try to go to sleep. You see, just because you pay the rent doesn't mean you actually live alone. So, what do you think that is? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, we tap into one of the most primal fears you can experience. You're home completely alone, locked in your bedroom, when someone starts knocking and calling your name in your mother's exact voice. The only problem, the first time this happened, she was actually on the phone with her real mum at that exact moment, who confirms she isn't anywhere near the house. When dealing with a mimic, the golden rule is to never respond and never open the door. But watch what happens when she refuses to answer and the entity decides it's completely tired of waiting in the hallway.
Hey guys, I'm home alone and I'm getting ready for bed.
Adrena!
Mom? Are you home?
Adrena! Are you there?
Wait, I thought you weren't gonna be home for another 30 minutes. What?
Adrena!
Her scream, as that door slowly swings open to reveal an empty hallway, is absolutely bone-chilling. But that final moment actually sparked a massive debate in the comments. Are mimics physically capable of opening doors on their own? In traditional paranormal lore, the answer is almost always no. Mimics are considered psychological predators. They copy the voices of your loved ones, specifically to bait you into opening the door, because they lack the kinetic energy or the spiritual permission to cross a closed boundary on their own. They rely entirely on trickery to get an invitation. So, what does it mean if the door opens by itself? From a paranormal theory standpoint, it suggests two incredibly terrifying possibilities. Either this entity has been feeding off her raw panic long enough to gather the physical power of a poltergeist, or it was never just a mimic to begin with. What do you think it was? In this next clip, a man was walking through the Valley Plaza Mall late at night, long after the stores had closed and the crowds had gone home. It should be dead silent, but as he's walking past the dark storefronts and empty massage chairs, he hears something that immediately makes his blood run cold. The distinct, echoing sound of children laughing. So, he immediately pulls out his phone to document it and manages to capture the giggling on camera. But as he's trying to figure out where the sound is coming from, he notices something moving in the shadows down the hall. Keep your eyes on the dark kiosk counter in the distance and listen closely.
On everything I love, I just heard a group of kids over here laughing. On everything, bro. I just heard a group of kids laughing. Where the hell the kids at? What the fuck? Bro, I know I'm not tripping, bro. I just heard a whole bunch of kids laughing, bro. You hear that shit? What the fuck? Bro, I'm in the mall by myself. Where the fuck is that shit coming from? I know y'all heard that shit. Bro, what the fuck? I'm about to get about this bitch. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Staring right at me. Right there. My heart beating fast as fuck, bro. I'm scared as fuck. There's a person right there in a red shirt right in front of me. Right there, y'all see him. There's a person right there. What the fuck going on? He just standing there. He's just standing there, bro. Bro, I'm out of here.
Hearing a child's laugh in an abandoned or empty space is basically the ultimate horror movie cliche, but in the paranormal community, it is actually taken very seriously. There are generally two schools of thought when it comes to phantom children. The first is that it's residual energy. Malls are places of high emotion, excitement, and energy, especially for kids. That intense joy can basically get recorded into the environment, playing back like a broken tape when the building is quiet. However, the second theory is much darker. Many investigators believe that malevolent entities will actively mimic the voices of crying or laughing children. It's a predatory tactic designed to instantly lower your guard and trigger your natural instinct to go investigate and help. When you combine that phantom laughing with a physical shadow ducking behind a counter in the distance, it looks a lot less like a residual echo and a lot more like an intelligent entity playing a very dark game of hide and seek, actively trying to bait him further into the dark mall. This next video was recorded by a father and daughter duo who were touring the historic streets of Galveston, Texas. Galveston is widely considered one of the most haunted cities in the United States, largely due to its tragic history with the Great Storm of 1900. For these two, ghost hunting is a shared passion, but they actually managed to capture their most compelling evidence without even realizing it. While they were filming the exterior of one of the city's famous Victorian-style houses, they missed the figure standing in the second-story window. It wasn't until they got home and rewatched the footage that they saw the pale shape looking back at them before it seemingly retreats into the darkness of the room.
Alright, so we took this video a while back. It's probably about 4 years ago, when I took my daughter to Galveston. We're doing those ghost tours. And later we come back and my daughter says, "Dad, look, I think I got something on one of her live photos that she did." And we've always wondered if that was something, but y'all let me know what y'all think. We think it's somebody there, like a ghost, and then he disappears. Like he's in the frame, then he disappears in the window. Now I'm gonna zoom in on it and play it. It was a live, so I have to zoom in and then do it because it's hard to see the whole video, but when we saw it there, that's what we call it. Y'all tell me what y'all think this is. So like you see, there's a guy right there, like the picture of him, and then if you look, it's like he walks away, like it walks from, you know, he's there, and then he just walks away like through the thing. So y'all tell me what y'all think about that. I don't know. I know it's kind of hard to see on there, and I was trying to zoom in and zoom out and trying to get a closer look at it, but the first picture I put, it shows it's still framing me up close, and it looks like a guy with like a hat with the white, you know, looks like a figure in that window. It said I had to try to zoom in because it's a live video, so you know, if you push it one way, you have to zoom on it just right so it follows it. But I don't know, what do y'all guys think? Do we get something? Do we not get something? Is it maybe something? Like, could it be a ghost? Could it not be a ghost? I wanted to research more on like that house, because apparently there was a lot of stuff that went on in that house. If you've ever taken the tour in Galveston, one of them that goes by, we've taken a couple times, just because me and my daughters, we love to go ghost hunting. But we've taken it a couple times. They showed us other pictures and stuff around there. Some other pictures other people have taken. But yeah, just let me know what y'all think. I mean, I talked to one of the tour guides that gave us the tour last time. I showed her that, and she was like, yeah, I think that's something. So I don't know if she's saying that or what, but y'all tell me what y'all think.
Galveston's haunted reputation comes from a massive amount of residual energy left behind by its turbulent past. These old houses are like sponges for spiritual activity, and sightings of figures in white are incredibly common in this area. Often, these are believed to be the spirits of former residents who are still tethered to their family homes, repeating their daily routines in a loop. However, the way this figure moves is what has paranormal investigators talking. A residual haunting usually doesn't react to the living. It just plays like a movie on a loop. But this figure appears to notice the camera and immediately moves away, which suggests an intelligent entity. It knew it was being watched and chose to disappear back into the shadows of the house. What do you think that was? Was that a spirit of old Galveston watching from the shadows? Or is it just a trick of the light? I'll leave you to be the judge. This video you're about to watch comes from the home surveillance footage of a co-worker's house. According to the person who shared this, the homeowner has been dealing with a heavy, oppressive presence in this specific area of their house, claiming that they repeatedly see this exact same shadowy figure lurking around late at night. Finally, their security camera triggered and captured what they've been dreading. In paranormal analysis, whenever a hazy, indistinct shape drifts across the screen like that, skeptics immediately jump to a few standard conclusions. They'll argue it's just an out-of-focus bug walking across the camera lens, or perhaps the headlights of a passing car refracting through the glass. But we can definitively rule the car lights out. The co-worker who lives in the house confirmed that at the exact moment this anomaly was recorded, there were absolutely no cars driving by outside and no external lights shining onto the property. If there is no external light source, there can be no reflection, which means this shadow light anomaly wasn't caused by the environment. It was an intelligence generating its own luminous energy to manifest in our reality. What the camera caught wasn't a trick of lighting or a wandering insect. It was the physical visual discharge of the exact recurring entity the homeowner knows is waiting for them in the dark. What do you think about this? This next clip shows an anomaly that has baffled a homeowner for the last 4 years. One night, a strange, erratic light source triggered her camera's motion sensors, so she uploaded the video and it sparked a massive debate. The movement is so distinctly autonomous and fluttery that the creator's friend and dozens of people in the comments are entirely convinced the camera captured a fairy. Naturally, skeptics were quick to jump in with two main scientific explanations. Either it's simply a trick of the light reflecting off the kitchen counter, or it's the camera's infrared lights refracting off a tiny spider web hanging just in front of the lens. Keep those theories in mind as you watch the footage. If you watch the trajectory closely, both of those logical explanations completely fall apart. First, if this were merely a reflection, like a passing car's headlights sliding across the kitchen counter, the light would physically bend, distort, or break the moment it crossed the edge of the countertop. But it doesn't. The light maintains its shape and trajectory perfectly. It doesn't bend with the counter because it isn't on the counter. It is a free-floating, three-dimensional energy source moving through the air directly in front of it. The spiderweb theory is much more plausible. In fact, it's exactly what the homeowner thought when her Ring notifications first started going off like crazy. To solve the problem, she physically went out into the room and scrubbed that entire corner, checking for and clearing out any spider webs within a 5-foot radius. But here is the detail that turns this from a mild curiosity into a terrifying encounter. The footage we just watched was recorded after she cleaned the area. Whatever this anomaly was, it wasn't a web and it wasn't leaving. The persistent, unexplained presence of this energy finally pushed the homeowner to her breaking point. She was so spooked that she grabbed her dog at 3 a.m., abandoned the house, and drove 40 minutes to sleep on her parents' couch. When she finally returned the next day, the anomaly was completely gone and she never saw it again. What do you think that was? I'll let you be the judge. This next clip takes us into an environment universally recognized as a massive focal point for the unexplained, a cemetery. In paranormal research, graveyards are considered active batteries of residual energy that hold a dense concentration of spiritual activity simply due to the emotional weight and history attached to the ground. The footage comes from a creator who makes a regular habit of live streaming his late-night graveyard visits. As he stands in the dark, his face covered by a black balaclava while he interacts with his chat, pay close attention to the background just over his right shoulder.
Graben. Pinche velador está loco. Ese en Hidalgo. Dylan, Adrián, ese en Hidalgo, no.
Right in the middle of his broadcast, the distinct silhouette of what appears to be a full-bodied figure casually walks through the shadows directly behind the tombstones. When someone repeatedly uses a final resting place for entertainment, they inevitably run the risk of disturbing whatever is anchored there. Spirits, much like the living, can eventually reach a breaking point when their peace is constantly interrupted. This manifestation doesn't feel like a random, wandering soul just caught on camera by accident. Given how often he streams there, it feels much more like a subtle, calculated warning. It's a quiet, but deeply unsettling way for the residents of that graveyard to let him know that they are watching, they just want to rest, and they have finally had enough of his cameras. If an entity is willing to step out of the shadows and walk directly behind you while you're live streaming, it might be time to find a new location to film. In this next clip, we explore a concept that's so scary, it sounds straight out of a nightmare. What if you aren't just living with a spirit, but living inside a monster house that is actively hunting you? You see, for weeks, the guy in this video had been dealing with deeply unsettling auditory phenomena, most notably hearing distinct, disembodied laughter in his house when he knew for a fact he was completely home alone. But tonight, the entity decided to stop laughing from the shadows and start physically interacting with the environment. He hears the heavy, rhythmic thud of his kitchen cabinets opening and slamming shut on their own. So, armed with his camera, he goes in to investigate. But what makes this footage so sinister is the undeniable intelligence behind the activity. The entity plays a predatory game of cat and mouse. The moment he steps into the kitchen, the noise dead stops. But the second he turns his camera away, it immediately starts again. Watch what happens when the entity finally decides to drop the act and show itself.
Something opens my cabinet and laughs.
No one's in my cupboard that I'm aware of. Oh my god. Fuck that. I swear one of these cupboards just went. It wasn't the same noise. It usually happens, but one of these. Maybe that that won't go because it's got stuff in front of it. This is bullshit. I swear to God that cupboard is moving. Oh my God, oh shit, right, that's it, I'm going. Oh my God.
The sheer, unfiltered panic in his voice as he yells is the sound of a man realizing he is no longer at the top of the food chain in his own home. But the most chilling detail happens just as he turns to flee. The cabinet doesn't just slam shut, it violently swings completely wide open. In paranormal psychology, an entity that plays red light, green light with a victim isn't just haunting a space, it's actively trying to break the occupant down psychologically to establish dominance. When that cabinet swings wide open, right as he turns his back to run, it is the entity claiming its territory. This leaves us with one final, scary question. If your own home suddenly turned into a hunting ground and things around the house start playing games with you, what would you do? This next clip was posted by a mum who's convinced that her toddler has just seen a ghost. It is a long-standing theory in the paranormal community that young children possess a heightened awareness, allowing them to see things that adults simply brush past. What starts as a normal, happy moment between a mother and her toddler hanging out on the bed quickly shifts when the child's attention is completely derailed by something invisible in the room. The mother noted in her caption that while her daughter didn't cry before or after the specific footage, and that there have been other times in this house where she was absolutely petrified by whatever she was staring at. Watch her expression change and listen to what she points at.
Why are you scared? Please. Oh. What's wrong?
Dada.
Where's Dada? Oh.
Okay, oh, what are those? Huh? Others.
I don't know. What is it?
What is it?
There's nothing out there.
No, we are there.
What?
No, we are there. We are there. Don't know it goes.
A ghost? Did you say it's a ghost?
No, it goes.
Where's a ghost?
No, it goes.
Oh.
It's definitely chilling to watch a child go from laughing to being completely hyperfixated on an empty space. But the most striking part is her vocabulary. She explicitly points into the void and identifies the presence as a ghost. Toddlers don't really have the psychological capacity to fake a complex visual tracking response just for fun. She is actively watching something move across the room. The mum handles it like most parents probably would, assuming it's just her child's active imagination. But from an investigator's perspective, verbally acknowledging and inviting an unverified entity closer is always a risky move, even as a joke. It gives whatever is standing in that room validation. It leaves you wondering, when a child points to an empty corner and tells you someone is there, at what point do you stop laughing and start believing them? This next clip perfectly captures the terrifying progression of a physical haunting. When an entity first starts interacting with our world, it often tests the waters with smaller, easily dismissed movements before escalating to heavier objects. In the first half of the video, we are looking at a seemingly normal bedroom setup. Keep your eyes on the bag resting quietly on top of the bed.
Video lang. Makita tayo.
There is no visible string, no sudden tilt of the mattress, and no logical reason for a stationary bag to suddenly drag itself over the edge. The movement is a clear, downward pull. But whatever is in this house wasn't satisfied with just knocking luggage onto the floor. In the second part of the footage, the kinetic energy shifts, focusing on a seating arrangement. Watch closely because the extreme specificity of what happens next is what makes it so unnerving.
Tingnan nyo guys ha. Nandiyan na siya. Nandiyan na. Nandiyan na siya. Nandiyan na. Gumalaw yung bangko.
Notice how the surrounding environment remains completely undisturbed. The table doesn't bump. The stool right next to it doesn't wobble. And there is no shifting of the floor. Just a single chair being smoothly and deliberately dragged backward by an unseen hand. When paranormal activity is this targeted, it completely rules out environmental factors like heavy vibrations, earthquakes, or drafts. It proves that the entity has enough focus and density to grip a single, specific piece of furniture and move it with purpose. It isn't just lashing out blindly. It knows exactly what it wants to move, and it wants to make sure the homeowner is watching when it happens. This next footage gives us a rare, real-time look at an investigator actively negotiating with a poltergeist, and it perfectly illustrates how unpredictable and intelligent these entities can be. The video starts right after a violent physical disturbance. That heavy metal stand with the draping beads on the middle shelf had just swung forward on its own, violently striking the glass door of the display cabinet. The investigator immediately opens the right side door, hits record, and begins a direct communication session, challenging whatever is in the room to do it again. At first, the response is weak. We just see a slight, subtle jingling of the draped beads. It's the exact kind of movement a skeptic would immediately debunk as a heavy footstep or the investigator subtly bumping the wooden cabinet. But the investigator knows this, so he doesn't back down. He verbally pushes the entity, asking it to actually swing the object like it did before. What the entity does in response leaves him completely unnerved and physically lightheaded.
Poltergeist. So I'm sitting here gaming, and that object up there swung and literally smacked the glass really hard. Damn reflection, but look, still moving. Let's get you before it stops. Look, still moving. Oh no, it moved. Look, it was sitting there, as you can see from the dust. Oh, so it moved. Alright. Can you make it swing again? Damn, I really need to wipe off in there. Look at all that shit. Can you make it swing again? Try to open that more. Hello? Can you make it move again? Oh, look. It made them all move now. Nice. Can you make it swing like you did before when it hit the glass? It's going out of focus. Alright, now I said swing it, not move it. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. And I opened that thing, so probably let the damn thing out. Yo, this thing keeps moving. I'm like nervous and shaking, and I'm lightheaded a little bit. Keeps going out of focus. Surprised them things ain't shaking more how much it moved. I'm so nervous, man. So lightheaded. I don't regret this, but can you make it move again? Can you make it move again? So lightheaded. Can you slide it the other way? Keeps going out of focus. Yo! Was that a nickel, a dime, a penny? Look, there's my change. That thing went flying. How did it not hit the glass? See, that was some glitch in the Matrix shit. Yo, I gotta rewatch that, cause how to get past that glass and fly behind this stuff. What is that? That's definitely not what flew out. I don't even know where that went. Or even, that looked like a quarter or a nickel or a dime, because it wasn't no penny. That shit was too shiny for that. I'm like freaking out. See, it keeps going out of focus, man. I think something's in there. I'm good. It can stay in there. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch that again, because I'm a little stomped on how it didn't hit the glass.
Watch the trajectory of that coin carefully. It doesn't just explode randomly outward. It is deliberately threaded through a complex physical environment. It flings from the closed section, passes cleanly behind the other objects on the shelf, completely avoids striking the closed glass barrier, and shoots straight out into the room through the open right side, without ever grazing the open glass door. That is not a random burst of environmental energy. That is calculated, intelligent, and highly targeted kinetic control. It's the entity's way of making one thing absolutely clear. It doesn't take orders. It has absolute control over the physical environment, and it can reach out and touch you whenever it wants. What do you think is doing all that? I'll leave you to be the judge. In the following video, a seemingly innocent interactive display at a children's museum manages to capture something it was never designed to see. The person filming is just passing the time, messing around with a thermal imaging exhibit. As he holds his hand up to the lens, his body heat registers normally in bright, warm colors. But it's what happens in the background of the screen that has left viewers completely baffled. lying completely motionless on the floor is a dark blue, human-shaped silhouette. Confused, the man pans his camera away from the monitor and points it directly at the physical floor in front of him, only to reveal that the space is entirely empty. Watch. In paranormal investigations, thermal cameras are heavily utilized because entities are believed to drain ambient heat from their environment in order to manifest. This sudden energy drain creates drastic, localized cold spots. Because the figure on this screen is registering as a deep, solid blue, it means whatever is lying there is significantly colder than the ambient temperature of the room. But what makes this footage truly compelling is the input from people who work with this exact technology every single day. One viewer, who uses thermal imaging professionally, pointed out a crucial detail. While a living person will leave behind a lingering warm imprint on a surface after they get up, a shadow or a trick of the light will never leave behind a lingering cold spot. If a person had just been lying on the floor as a prank moments before the video started, the screen would show a residual yellow or red outline, not a freezing blue void. Whatever this camera is picking up, it defies the normal rules of residual body heat, and it certainly isn't a shadow. Did this museum exhibit accidentally capture the heavy imprint of a spirit tethered to that spot on the floor? Or is this just a highly unusual glitch in the system? I'll leave you to be the judge. In the next clip, we take a look at a deeply unsettling piece of home security footage that proves you never really know what is wandering around your property when you aren't there. The homeowner shared this video with a very specific disclaimer. The camera is set up inside the house, looking out through the front window, and the family is currently away on vacation. Every single light inside the house is supposed to be completely off, but as the footage rolls, something inexplicable happens. Pay attention to the glowing mass that appears on the right side of the screen, and notice the bizarre blue flash reflecting against the glass. Since the camera is positioned indoors, that light is reflecting from behind the lens, meaning something illuminated inside the dark, empty house. Take a look. There is a lot to unpack here, especially when considering how the camera's system actually reacted to the event. The homeowner perfectly described the glowing mass, noting that it initially looks like footsteps, then starts floating. If you watch closely, it elongates and shifts before morphing into a solid orb and drifting intentionally across the yard. While skeptics are usually quick to dismiss floating anomalies like this as simple dust particles or tiny bugs catching the infrared light, there is one massive detail that makes this much harder to explain away. The homeowner confirmed that this glowing mass actually triggered the camera's motion detector. Security systems are typically calibrated to ignore small, close-up particles like dust, requiring something with actual physical mass or a significant heat signature to trip the sensor. The shape-shifting nature of this anomaly, combined with the triggered motion alert and that unexplained blue flash inside the home, makes this a highly compelling piece of footage. Was this just a heavy speck of dust drifting on an indoor draft that somehow managed to trick the system? Or did this camera catch a genuine spirit roaming the property while the owners were away? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In this clip, we witness what happens when a subtle haunting rapidly escalates into a full-blown, violent infestation. Most people set up indoor security cameras to give themselves peace of mind while they are away. But for this homeowner, those cameras ended up capturing the exact opposite. The timeline of this activity is what makes it so deeply unsettling. It shows an entity testing its boundaries and gaining strength. The activity begins in the living room while the house is completely empty. The ceiling fan suddenly turns itself on, spinning for a few moments before stopping. To rule out a random electrical glitch or a draft, the light attached to the fan actually switches on and off exactly as the blades come to a halt. This is a deliberate manipulation of the electrical current. Then, in the background, a closet door slowly creaks open and clicks shut entirely on its own. Watch.
What is going on in my house when I'm not home?
In paranormal research, entities often start small to test the waters and build up kinetic energy. Whatever has invaded this home quickly realized it was being watched, and the physical manipulation only grows stronger. That same closet door continues to act up, but the entity begins interacting with much heavier objects. The tablecloth is noticeably tugged by an invisible force, and a heavy wooden dining bench is dragged across the floor. Moving solid wood takes a significant amount of energy, proving this is no longer just a passive spirit.
It's happening again.
By the next day, things cross the line from creepy anomalies into highly aggressive, chaotic poltergeist activity. The energy in the house completely shifts. Multiple dining chairs are violently pulled away from the table, the bench is dragged once again, and the door repeatedly slams. Even smaller objects become projectiles, as a tissue box is aggressively pulled across the living room carpet. Moments later, the homeowner walks into the frame, completely baffled by the inexplicable, terrifying mess left behind in an empty house.
It's getting more intense.
While moving furniture is terrifying, coming face to face with the entity is a completely different level of nightmare. In this next part, the man's son is hanging out in his room when that same problematic door slowly swings open, but this time it isn't an invisible force. According to the family, the son actually saw a distinct, terrifying face peering back at him from the dark space in the closet. His blood-curdling scream as he bolts downstairs in absolute terror tells you everything you need to know about what was looking at him. At this point, the house is an absolute powder keg. On a separate day, the son is just trying to distract himself and regain some sense of normalcy by playing video games. But the entity decides to make it completely clear that they are no longer welcome there. As objects start shifting and moving around him once again, he finally reaches his breaking point, drops what he's doing, and gets the hell out of there.
Daddy, it's happening again. Daddy? Daddy? I don't like this. Daddy, I don't like this. Daddy?
When you look at this specific pattern of escalation, it raises a terrifying question. What exactly is living in this house? Activity that starts with electrical interference and subtle movements before rapidly evolving into throwing heavy furniture usually points to a poltergeist. Poltergeists are notoriously noisy and destructive, often feeding off the raw emotional energy and stress of the people living in the home, especially teenagers like the son in the video. However, manifesting a physical face to intentionally terrify a child is a deeply predatory behavior that points to something much darker. Many investigators would look at this timeline and classify it as a demonic infestation. These dark entities systematically break down a family's psychological state. They start by making you question your sanity with moving objects, exhaust you with fear, and then reveal themselves to feed off the resulting terror. When a haunting goes from turning on a ceiling fan to physically dragging heavy furniture and showing its face to children, you are dealing with a highly dangerous presence. Would you try to bring in a professional to cleanse a house this active? Or are you packing your bags the second a chair moves on its own? In the following clip, we encounter a scenario that goes far beyond a typical residual haunting. When investigators assess a location, they don't just look for movement or sound. They pay very close attention to environmental and sensory changes. One of the most severe red flags you can experience in your home is olfactory, specifically the sudden, unexplained smell of sulfur or rotten eggs. In the paranormal world, that nasty smell usually isn't just bad plumbing. A lot of people believe it's the physical sign of something really dark and heavy entering our reality. When an entity like that steps into a room, it completely shifts the energy. Keep that in mind and keep your eyes glued to the wall right behind the couch.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Dude. Baby, what took you so long to answer? Dude, the house smells like literally like rotten egg. Like, it literally smells like you forgot to take the trash out or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but this shit, like, I'm literally feel like I'm about to puke. I was just taking a nap and the house smells disgusting. Yeah, I'll open the door. I don't know if that's gonna do much though. The door's open. I don't know. I need a fan or something. You need to get home and like air, like do something in here. Did you take the trash out? What the fuck, baby? The lights are fucking flickering now, dude. Baby, stop! What the fuck? Baby!
When an unseen force interacts with the physical world, the choice of what it manipulates tells you everything you need to know about its intentions. Knocking a cup off a table is a simple cry for attention, but deliberately targeting a symbol of faith and physically inverting it is a highly calculated act of mockery. Pulling off a manipulation like that requires a massive draw of raw energy, which perfectly explains the sudden electrical interference and flickering lights right before it happens. It serves a very specific, deeply sinister purpose. The entity isn't just trying to scare the occupants, it is launching a psychological attack designed to strip away their sense of spiritual protection and claim absolute dominance over the space. When things start smelling like decay and the symbols on your wall turn upside down, you aren't dealing with a restless ghost passing through. You are dealing with something deeply malevolent that is actively making itself at home. In the next clip, we see a perfectly normal family moment take a very strange turn. A mother and father are sitting on the floor, playing with their baby boy. The baby is laughing, and everything seems completely fine, but right in the middle of a giggle, he abruptly stops. The parents were actually so confused by his sudden change in behavior that they posted the video asking a genuine question. Did my son see a ghost or have a seizure? This naturally sparked a huge debate in the comments. While some people suggested it looked like a brief absent seizure, others pointed out an environmental anomaly. As you watch, pay very close attention to the lighting in the room right before the baby's demeanor shifts.
It's so cute.
While a medical explanation is always the most logical place to start, a lot of viewers argued against it based on the visual evidence. First, the physical reaction doesn't entirely fit. Even while his face is frozen, his arms are still subtly moving, and the freeze lasts for just a fraction of a second before he snaps right back to normal. As several people pointed out, absent seizures don't typically resolve that instantaneously, but the detail that really makes people lean toward a paranormal explanation is the lighting. Just as one viewer noticed, right before the baby locks his eyes on the empty space, the brightness of the camera feed inexplicably surges. A medical episode happening inside a child's brain does not cause the external lighting in a room to fluctuate. That kind of sudden light anomaly is often associated with energy shifting in a room. The parents don't know what happened to their boy, but what do you think? This next clip was filmed in an empty grocery store. You see there is a very specific, deeply unsettling feeling that comes with working the graveyard shift in a massive empty building. Grocery stores are designed to be packed with people, light, and noise. So when you strip all of that away at 3 a.m., it turns into a maze of dead quiet aisles and harsh fluorescent lights. It becomes the perfect, isolated playground for something that doesn't belong. For a while, the overnight stocker who filmed this had been feeling like he wasn't actually alone in the store. He kept catching quick glimpses of a figure in a white shirt slipping around corners or ducking behind shelves just out of his direct line of sight. It's easy to try and brush that off as simple sleep deprivation, but when he walked out of the back room on this particular night, the entity decided to stop hiding in the periphery and make a very physical, undeniable introduction.
Alright, at work, alone, middle of the night. Look at that one sign. Swinging. What is up with that? Nothing else is moving. The one sign right there. What's up with that?
Skeptics will immediately try to blame the HVAC system kicking on or a draft from a loading dock door. But basic physics completely ruins that argument. If that was air current, the other identical signs would at least be swaying too. But they are not. They're dead still. That isolated, aggressive movement is completely unnatural. And the fact that the sign is hanging way too high up for a living person to physically reach just adds to the nightmare. That isn't a draft. That is the exact same figure in the white shirt he's been seeing for weeks, finally stepping out into the open and showing him how much physical power it actually has. What would you do if that were you? In this next clip, we are dealing with a situation that feels straight out of a horror movie. We've all heard stories about a random electronic toy going off in the middle of the night, usually just because of a dying battery or a weird glitch. But what this creator captured going on in her bedroom completely defies logic. For a while, she kept waking up to the sound of a very specific melody coming from her bedside lamp. But the terrifying part is how the lamp behaves. It doesn't just play randomly, it waits until she is fully asleep, and the exact second she physically gets up or moves around to check on it, the music dead stops. That kind of reaction isn't a mechanical error, that shows awareness. It knows when she's awake and asleep. If you listen closely, the song playing is Auld Lang Syne, the classic tune everyone sings at midnight on New Year's Eve. Hearing that tinny, cheerful melody echoing in a pitch-black bedroom while you're trying to sleep is unsettling enough on its own. Naturally, the comment section was flooded with people trying to rationalize it, mostly claiming it's just the sound of a musical microchip dying on a low battery. But here is the massive problem with that theory. The creator explicitly confirmed that the lamp is completely unplugged from the wall, and it doesn't even take batteries. There is literally zero physical power source connected to this object. If a device has absolutely no electricity running to it, it cannot produce sound. Unless, of course, something unseen in that room is providing its own energy to make it play. So, what do you think? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, what should have been an exciting fresh start in a new house immediately turns into a nightmare. He has just moved in and is completely alone in the house. He's standing in a dark hallway when the lights start to glitch out and the sliding door at the very end of the hall begins to move.
I was moving into my new house. I was alone and this happened. Good luck to me.
Notice the specific way that door closes. It isn't a smooth, continuous glide caused by a slanted floor or a heavy draft. It has a distinct start and stop motion, exactly like a physical hand is gripping the edge and carefully pulling it shut. He bravely walks down the hall, slides the door open, and finds absolutely nothing inside. It's definitely not the kind of welcoming committee you want to deal with on your first day in a new house. You might try to rationalize that first event and just go to work, hoping it was a weird, isolated fluke. But the second half of the video destroys any chance of a logical explanation. He comes home from his shift to find that exact same bedroom door actively opening and closing on its own. He works up the courage again to push through it and see what is waiting for him inside.
I came home from work. Something seemed strange. My lights were on and something weird happened. WTF is that thing? Somebody get me out of here.
The door moving is creepy enough, but finding that vintage clown doll sitting dead center on his bed takes it to a completely different level of terrifying. Remember, he lives completely alone and absolutely did not put that doll there. In paranormal research, objects like old dolls are often viewed as trigger objects, items that can hold significant residual energy or even act as an anchor for an entity. Physically transporting an object like that and placing it directly on where he sleeps while he was out of the house is a massive escalation. It's a very clear, very sinister message from whatever is sharing that house with him. I was in your room and I am waiting for you. In this next clip, we see why setting up a security camera in your bedroom can sometimes give you a lot more than you bargained for. The person who filmed this was very clear in their caption. They made absolutely sure that the closet door with the mirror on it was securely shut and latched. Watch what happens to it. A latch door doesn't just pop open on its own because of a breeze or the house settling. It takes physical force to undo a latch and pull it open. But as creepy as that is, it's really just the warm-up. That same night, while the creator was actually in the room, fast asleep in bed out of the camera's view, their phone got a motion alert from the camera, and when they checked the footage the next day, they saw this. In the video, you can clearly see a distinct dark shadow moving across the wall and the door. The creator confirmed there was absolutely nothing moving inside or outside the house that could have cast a shadow like that. But the detail that really freaked them out is where the shadow ends up. Toward the end of the clip, the dark shape stops and just hovers right at the foot of the bed, lingering exactly where they were sleeping. It's one thing for an entity to mess with your closet doors while you're out of the room, but standing over you in the dark while you are completely vulnerable and asleep, that is a massive invasion of privacy and honestly, a great reason to pack your bags. What would you do if you experienced something like this? This next clip presents a very unsettling dynamic. When we see grainy baby monitor footage recorded at 3 a.m., we naturally brace ourselves for something terrifying. But what happens when the entity lurking in your child's nursery isn't there to scare them, but to protect them? The footage shows a baby awake and playing in his crib in the middle of the night. As he rocks backward, getting dangerously close to smacking the back of his head against the wooden rails, an unseen force intervenes. If you watch the baby's momentum, the physics simply don't make sense for a self-correction. As the mother pointed out in its post, he is a 23-pound toddler. A baby of that size and motor development cannot abruptly halt a backward fall and smoothly glide forward using just one hand. That movement was a clear, controlled, and gentle tug from an external source, pulling him safely away from the edge. What makes this even more fascinating and eerie is the established pattern. According to the family, this isn't an isolated incident. They regularly capture this kind of activity around the exact same time at night, and the presence behaves in a distinctly maternal way. It doesn't just catch him when he falls. It has also been documented carefully adjusting his blanket to keep him warm while he sleeps. In paranormal theory, this is often categorized as a guardian spirit, or perhaps a lingering familial energy. And while it is certainly comforting to know that the ghost in your house wants to keep your baby safe, it is still an incredibly tough reality to accept that an invisible entity is taking the night shift in your nursery. In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a terrifying encounter that turns a completely mundane, everyday space into a nightmare. The guy filming is just making his way through a quiet, empty utility room. It seems like a completely normal, boring walk until the dead silence is suddenly broken by something you never want to hear when you think you're alone. And whatever makes that sound follows it up immediately with a massive, aggressive display of physical force right in front of him. Watch how fast his survival instincts kick in when he realizes what is standing in the aisle with him.
I know.
Moving a heavy, front-loading appliance door on its hinges requires a significant amount of physical strength. It's not something a draft or a slightly uneven floor is going to accomplish. But where this happens is actually the most interesting piece of the puzzle. In paranormal lore, utility rooms, basements, and laundry areas are notorious hotbeds for spiritual activity. Paranormal investigators widely believe that water is a massive conductor for spiritual energy. Entities naturally gravitate toward places with heavy plumbing, drainage, and large electrical appliances. Those elements combined create a massive, easily accessible pool of kinetic and electromagnetic energy for them to draw from in order to physically manifest. Whatever is sharing that room with him isn't just a weak, residual spirit. It has siphoned enough ambient energy from its environment to not only project its voice, but to physically interact with the real world. It wanted to stop him right in his tracks and show him exactly who was in control of that room. What do you think was sharing that room with him? I'll leave you to be the judge.